Hey guys, I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance medical copywriter, and today I want to talk to you about 3 ways to build trust into your sales copy because trust is super important. If your audience doesn't trust you, they're sure as hell not going to buy from you. Excuse my language, but it's true. So, you got to be thinking about this when you are, writing your copy. It is essential. And honestly, consumers today are so much smarter and have such a more sensitive BS meter, which I actually like because I like to build trust with my people. I like to write for things that I really believe in, which helps and I really recommend. So just thinking about how you can build trust with your audience is super important. So I want to talk about 3 ways that you can do that. First and foremost, it may seem obvious, but really think about how you're doing this is be transparent and authentic. It depends on what you're writing about, but if you can kind of poke fun at yourself and just be really who you are, share stories about things that didn't go well, that's what people really want to hear today because that is how they come to know you, come to trust you, your brand, your product, whatever it is. It's such a great way to just kind of 1, be yourself, which is more fun, and 2, build trust. So acknowledge mistakes, acknowledge shortcomings, and definitely identify who your product is not for. That's another way that you can kind of tie that all together. So for example, maybe you're selling a course to yoga studio owners. You can use the mistakes that you made to build trust, but also to kind of showcase why you are more knowledgeable than somebody who hasn't made the mistakes that you've made and how you've come to understand what you can do to prevent those. So you can talk about, how you made a mistake, what it taught you, how that's incorporated into your product, how it's going to prevent your audience from making the same mistakes. And you get a chance to share stories, be personable, show who you really are or who your product or client is, obviously. But also, it's really going to build trust with the people who are reading your copy. You also, in the same vein, want to share who your product is not for. And this is, again, being really transparent and authentic because honestly, your product probably isn't for everyone. Most things aren't. And when you take the time to call out what your product or service or who it's not for, you give a chance to build more trust and for the right people to end up with your product or service. And really, that is what good copy is all about. It's all about finding the right people, not just broadcasting everywhere to everyone to get as many sales as possible. You really want the right people. So when you identify, hey, this yoga studio course for yoga studio owners is going to help you overcome the mistakes I made or prevent the mistakes I made. It's going to help you grow your revenue and all these things. And then you're like, and hey, by the way, this is just for yoga studio owners. This is not for everyone. And that is going to also build trust because they're like, okay, this person is really, truly just talking to me. So it's a really great way to identify your ideal client, use opportunities to share stories about, some of the mistakes you made and how you fixed them and overcome them, how you're going to prevent it from them from going through the same thing. So definitely work on being more authentic and genuine in your copy. And people can tell if it's not genuine. If you're going over the top, if you're being too cheesy, if you're being, some of the copy from the 50s, which we've all seen if you've done any hand copying, you know what that looks like. People will smell that and run away so fast. So just be really transparent and authentic, and I think the best way to do that is through storytelling. The other thing is to call out objections. If you're thinking it, and your audience is for sure thinking it, so maybe you're writing, and all of a sudden you think, at this point, somebody's probably thinking this is too good to be true. If that is what you're thinking, call it out. Say, does this sound like it's too good to be true? Well, I totally understand why you might think that, and then go into why it might be, why it is amazing. Maybe they have to put in more work than, like this is hard work. It sounds like it's too good to be true, but you got to put in the work. Call out any objections they might have. The other thing is thinking about the objections, like maybe somebody's reading it and they're like, I'm too old for this. This is for younger people. Boom, you can put in a case study. Case studies that handle objections are incredibly powerful. So don't brush over objections, call them out, handle them head on, and your audience will trust you so much more. And again, I want to reiterate, if you can find like a list of objections, that is a great FAQ, frequently asked question, section of your product or service copy. You can literally make all the FAQs objections and answer them. And really though, the most powerful thing you can do is find a case study that directly combats an objection they might have, because that is going to add so much credibility and trust in your audience when they see that it's not you just talking about it, but that there are actual people who have used your product or service and, maybe had a similar fear that they had, like being too old for a product or service, but they were able to use it and gain super amazing results anyway. The third thing is to use their lingo and don't assume that you know. A good example of this for me was when I was starting to write about keto and the keto diet for, products, keto related products. And I started joining keto Facebook groups, which is one of my favorite ways to get to know an audience, is joining Facebook groups that are related. So when you do that, you start to see their lingo. For example, people who are, starting keto often get what's called the keto flu. And it's basically when you're eliminating sugar from your body and you get really sick and nauseous and you basically feel like you have the flu, you get headaches. It's not fun. I've gone through it myself, actually. And so then you can talk about the keto flu and they know that you know more about the world that they're in, the things that they're going through, their pain points, and maybe of a product that actually helps with the keto flu. There are lots of abbreviations used in like people in the keto world. WOE or way of eating is one of them. So if you can incorporate that into your copy, again, they're going to think that, oh, this person really gets it. They're in this world, they know the lingo, they talk like we talk, and it's going to build trust tremendously. But again, don't assume that you know. Another favorite technique that I like to use for finding lingo of my audience is surveys. If you are working with a client that has an email list, that is gold, or a Facebook group. Shoot out a survey and make sure you give them something in exchange. It could be a helpful piece of content. That's a really great technique. So send out a survey, make it super short, super, to the point, but give them a space in at least one of the questions where they can type out their own answer in their own words. And I cannot tell you the number of times I've done that with clients, and we have gotten just like a gold mine of lingo and the way that they phrase things. And sometimes it's in ways that I would never have thought to like word something. And when you take those words right out of their own mouth and you incorporate that into your copy for your client, your audience is going to read that and really connect with it because it's their own words. So that is another strategy that I like to use to find the lingo and also to hear from your audience what they want to know more of. So build trust into your copy. It's so important. And think about how you can do it throughout. Sometimes it helps to go back through when you're done with a piece or think you're done with a piece and go back through and ask yourself, where can I add a story? Where can I add more trust? Where can I be a little bit more authentic? Where does it start to sound like it is too good to be true? How can I call that out? What case study can I pop in there to showcase that, yeah, it does sound like it's too good to be true because it is. And here's somebody who overcame something. Here's somebody who has a similar fear to you or a similar pain point. So go back through afterwards, after you have a good first draft, and see where you can incorporate those things. That's also how you build long-term loving relationships with your audience. And that is super important because they're going to keep coming back and they're going to keep buying from you. They're going to be more likely to forgive you when you do make a mistake or mess up or something. And they're going to be more likely to recommend you to their friends and family. So think about how you can add trust into your copy. Definitely take the time to go back through, especially if you're starting out, and your audience will love you. That's what you got to do. So thanks for joining me. If you like this, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, leave me a comment, tell me what you want to see more of. I really love hearing from you. I've gotten a ton of ideas for future videos straight from your comments. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon. Thanks, guys.